Hello everybody, we are going to start a new chapter of class 11 which is laws of motion, and we are going to study the following topics. We are going to study about the Newton laws of motion and their application in today's video. Starting with Aristotle fallacy. Aristotle thought that every particle requires an external force to keep it in motion, and this was stated as Aristotelian law, but it was proved wrong by Galileo and Isaac Newton. How did Galileo prove it wrong? Through his observation. Galileo did some observation. He took a ramp, an inclined surface, and took a ball on that inclined surface and allowed the ball to fall freely from that inclined surface, and he observed that the ball went the same height on the other inclined plane also, and he concluded that a ball released from rest on one plane rolls down and climbs up the other. In the absence of friction, the heights of the ball on both the planes are the same, which is the ideal condition. But if there is friction in practical situation, the height on the second plane is always a little less but never greater. It can never be greater. He did more observations. He took a ramp and allowed the ball to fall free, and always he saw that the ball always rises to the same height from which it was dropped. When the angle of the ramp was changed and when the ball was allowed to fall from it, the ball always rises to the same height. But what if the ramp is made horizontal? Will the ball rise ever, or it will continue its uniform motion? Means case 3, we can see that the ball always continues uniform motion till infinity. So he concluded a ball released from rest, that was in case 1, reaches the same height on the other side in the absence of friction. In case 2, the ball reaches the same height on the other side again in the absence of friction, but travels a longer distance. As the angle is changed, it travels a longer distance. Next, in the last case, when the ramp is made horizontal, which is the limiting case, the ball rolls down and continues to move in the horizontal direction through infinite distance, and again it will only happen in the absence of friction. So Galileo arrived at a new concept of the rest and uniform motion, and he stated the state of rest and state of uniform motion are equivalent. Means a body will be at rest or a body will be in uniform motion if no external forces applied on it, and Galileo proved Aristotle wrong. In both cases, there is no net force acting on the body. Therefore, there is no need to apply an external force to keep a body in uniform motion. We only need to apply external force to encounter the frictional or any other force, so that the forces sum up to zero next external force. And he stated his law of inertia. Galileo's law of inertia was a body does not change its state of rest or of uniform motion unless an external force compels to change its state. If the next external force is zero, a body continues to remain at rest, and a body in uniform motion continues to move with a uniform velocity. And then entered Sir Isaac Newton. He was an English scientist and mathematician. He was famous for his discovery of the law of gravity, and he framed the 3 laws of motion, which we know that they are Newton laws of motion. He was a young professor in Cambridge University, and when the Cambridge University was closed for 18 months due to a pandemic there, he was resting below an apple tree, and apple fall on his head, and he discovered the principle of gravity, and he wrote down all his principles in a book and published the book named Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica in 1687. And his statement I can recall, if I have ever made any valuable discovery, it has been owing more to patient attention than to any other talent. So his first law is, Newton's first law of motion states that every body continues to be in its state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line until and unless compelled by an external force to change its state of rest or of uniform motion. Summarizing in simple word, if the next external force on a body is zero, its acceleration is zero. Or acceleration can be non-zero only if there is a net external force on the body. Few examples of Newton's first law of motion. What was Newton's first law of motion? A body will continues to be in a state of rest or uniform motion unless and until an external force is applied. Now, if on a table a block is kept, what are the forces acting on the block? The weight of the block is acting downwards due to its gravity. Now, still the block is at rest, means the weight is taking it downward, but the table provides a reaction which is balanced, which means the block will always continues to be in a state of rest until and unless an external force is applied on it. Means the weight is balanced by the normal reaction R of the table. Similarly, when this block is again kept on the table, the block remain at rest because the weight is balanced by the normal reaction. But if a force is applied on the block, it moves the block. That means unless and until an external force is applied, the body will remain at rest. As soon as the force is applied on the block, it will come in motion. Similarly, giving you another example, a ball is rolling on a frictionless surface, and as soon as we stop the ball with our hand, we apply an external force, it will stop. Similarly, a car running on a frictionless surface continues to be in a uniform motion, and this car can go till infinity in the absence of an external force. And this concept is called as inertia. Inertia is the inherent property of the body due to which it resists a change in its state of rest or of uniform motion. Inertia derived its property from the mass. Mass is the measure of the inertia of the body. Heavier objects have more inertia than lighter objects. Giving you an example, a stone of size of a football has more inertia than a football, means the mass of the stone will be much greater than a football because football is filled with air inside, but a stone is having greater mass, so it will have more inertia. A cricket ball has more inertia than a rubber ball of the same size. Giving you another example of inertia of rest, when a pile of coins on a carom board are kept at rest and a striker hits one of the coin below, the coin moves but the other coin which were rest continues to be in a state of rest, but because the external force was applied only to the coin which was at the bottom. All other coins which were piled up above that coin continues to be in a state of rest. Similarly, if we take a container and keep a cardboard over it and put another coin over it, and if we hit that container and if we hit that cardboard, the cardboard moves but the coin will fall inside the container, means the coin continues to be in a state of rest because the external force was provided by the hand on the cardboard. The coin was at rest and continues to be in a state of rest. Some other examples of inertia: a passenger in a bus gets a backward jerk when the bus suddenly starts. Similarly, when a bed sheet is flicked away suddenly, dust particles fall away as they tend to be in inertia of rest. When a branch of tree carrying a mango is suddenly flicked, mango falls off due to the inertia of rest because mangoes were in the state of rest, and when the external force is applied on the branch, the mangoes continues to be in a state of rest and cannot go in motion with the branch. Some other examples of inertia of motion: A passenger in a bus jerks forward when the bus stops suddenly, because the passenger tends to be in the inertia of motion, whereas the bus is stopped forcefully. An athlete, after reaching the finishing point, cannot stop suddenly, or if he stops suddenly, then he falls toppling head down. A rotating fan continues to do so for some more time even after the current is switched off. Next, we continue about momentum. Momentum is the quantity of motion in a body and it depends on its mass and velocity. It is defined as the product of its mass and velocity. Momentum is equal to the product of mass and velocity, which is represented as P, where P is equal to m into v, where m is mass and v is velocity, which means that momentum is directly proportional to mass. If a cricket ball and a tennis ball having different masses moves with the same velocity, the momentum of cricket ball is more because its mass is larger than the tennis ball. Similarly, momentum is directly proportional to velocity also. If two cricket balls move with different velocity, then the momentum of the ball with greater velocity possesses more momentum. If a body Okay, then Newton's second law of motion states that the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force, and this change takes place in the direction in which the force acts. Which means that force is directly proportional to the change in momentum upon the time taken, which is stated as the force is directly proportional to the rate of change in momentum. Derivation of Newton's second law of motion, that is derivation of F equal to ma. Force is directly proportional to the change in momentum upon the time taken. According to Newton's second law, F is proportional to delta P upon delta T, where delta P is the change in momentum and time taken is delta T. Proportionality sign is removed and a constant comes into the equation where F is equal to K times delta P upon delta T, where K is a constant of proportionality. If the change in time is very small, limit delta T tends towards 0, then we can use the differential form where F is equal to K times dP upon dt. Means F is equal to K times d by dt of P, which is equal to momentum is equal to mass into velocity. So we can state as force is equal to K times d by dt of mass into velocity. Mass is a constant, means force is equal to K times m into dv by dt. And dv by dt, we all know it is acceleration, means force is equal to K into m into a, where K is a constant, m is mass and a is acceleration. Now talking about K, if a force of 1 Newton is applied on a body of mass 1 kg, it produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square on the body. Then force is 1, K is written as K, mass is 1 kg and acceleration is 1 meter per second square. Therefore, the value of K is also equal to 1. So we can write in the equation that F is equal to mass into acceleration. Means force is equal to mass into acceleration. So acceleration can be written as A is equal to force upon mass, that is A is equal to F upon m. Acceleration produced in a body is directly proportional to the force acting on it and inversely proportional to the mass of the body. Force is a vector quantity. Force can cause acceleration or deceleration, both. It can cause an increase in speed also, it can cause a decrease in speed also. How is that possible? Giving you an example, the accelerator of a car accelerates it, it increases the speed, but when you apply brakes on the car, the speed of the car decreases. That means we can deaccelerate it also using brakes. SI unit of force is Newton, named after Sir Isaac Newton. 1 Newton is defined as the force which, when acting on a body of mass 1 kg, produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in it. If you want to feel a force of 1 Newton, you can place a 100-gram mass on your palm and the force you feel will be nearly 1 Newton. Means when a 100-gram body is placed on your palm, the force you feel is 1 Newton. Okay, some important point about Newton's second law. The second law is the main law of Newton, which can be stated as if F is equal to 0, acceleration is also equal to 0. This is obviously consistent with the first law also. If a acceleration on the body is equal to 0, means if a body is at rest, and it will continues to be at rest when force is 0, means when no force is applied on a body, the acceleration will 0, means a body will remain at rest or in uniform motion until and unless an external force is applied on it. Next, the second law is a vector law. It is equivalent to 3 equations, one for each component of the vectors. For x-axis, fx can be equal to dp upon dt in the x-axis. As fx is equal to mass into acceleration in the x-axis. Similarly, fy is equal to dpy upon dt equal to may. Fz is equal to dpz upon dt equal to maz, where ax, ay and az are the acceleration in x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. This means that if a force is not parallel to the velocity of the body but makes some angle with it, it changes only the component of velocity along the direction of force. The component of velocity normal to the force always remains unchanged. For example, in the motion of a projectile, when we throw something along with the angle with the horizontal, the gravitational force always acts in the vertical direction, but the horizontal velocity remains unchanged. Now, when a ball hits a wall and bounces back, the force on the ball by the wall acts for a very short time. When the force acts for a very short time, it is very much enough to change the momentum of the ball. And in these situations, it is difficult to ascertain the force and the time duration separately. And these situations are categorized under impulse, where impulse is equal to the product of force and the time duration for this force acts, or it can also be stated as impulse is equal to change in momentum. Impulse is denoted by capital J, where it is equal to force into t. It is a vector quantity. A large force acting for a short time to produce change in momentum is called impulsive force. Importance of impulse in practice: a high jumping or a long jumping athlete is provided either a cushion or a heap of sand on the ground to fall upon. The cushion or the sand helps to increase the time in which the momentum comes to 0. This decreases the rate of change of momentum and hence the force, so the athlete does not get hurt. Secondly, packing material like thermocol, corrugated sheet, bubbled plastic sheet, straw paper, strands, etc. are used while packing glassware, chinaware and electronic devices, because they can break easily on application of a very small force even. So, these materials help to increase the time in which the momentum comes to 0 when jolting and jerking takes place. This decreases the rate of change of momentum and hence the force, so the articles do not get broken. Similarly, a seasoned cricketer player stops the ball by drawing his hands along the direction of motion of the ball, thus allowing more time to apply less force. You must have seen whenever a cricketer catches a ball, he draws his hands downward while catching a ball. You can look at this scene also. A ball, when the cricketer catches it, he moves his hands downwards while taking the catch so that he gets less injury on his hand. A fast-moving cricketer ball has a large momentum. In stopping the cricket ball, its momentum has to be reduced to 0. When the player moves his hand back, the time taken to stop the ball increases and hence the rate of change of momentum decreases. That is, the force exerted by the ball on the hands decreases. So the hands on the player do not get hurt. Now the last law, that is Newton's third law of motion, states that to every action there is always an equal and opposite reaction, but this action and reaction acts on different bodies but always come in pair. which means that force acting on body A due to body B, which is FAB, on the LHS side, FAB is force acting on body A due to body B, is equal and opposite. Negative sign indicates that it is in opposite direction. Is minus of FBA, which is force acting on body B due to body A, means FAB is equal to minus FBA. Taking some examples of Newton's third law of motion. First of all, if we take two spring balances and we pull these spring balances on the either side, we'll see that both the spring balance will read the same reading. Means the action on the right side, we call it as action, is 58 gram weight. Similarly, on the left side, the reaction will also be same, that is 58 gram weight. The force have different direction, actually they have opposite direction, but the magnitude is same, which can easily be stated as the action and reaction always acts in pairs, which means that action and reaction are just forces that always occur in pair, and action and reaction do not act on the same body. Though action and reaction forces are equal in magnitude, but they do not produce equal acceleration in two bodies of different masses on which they act. Taking another example, let us consider a wall, and if we throw a ball on that wall, the ball will return back. Watch again. You see the ball gives an action to the wall. On the other hand, the wall gives the same reaction onto the ball. You can see again, action and reaction. Action acts on the right side while the reaction given by the wall is towards the left side. Means action and reaction both are equal and opposite. Similarly, when you fire a bullet from the gun recoils. You can watch closely. As soon as you fire a bullet, the gun recoils. Watch again. As soon as you fire a bullet, the gun recoils. The force on the bullet which makes the bullet moves towards left while the gun recoils towards right. The bullet gets an action while the gun gets a reaction. Similarly, if you watch the balloon, it rises upwards due to the outflow of the gas from the balloon gets reaction and rises upwards. See clearly, the gases comes out, hits the floor, and the balloon rises up due to the reaction on the balloon. The gases provide action on the floor while the reaction is provided on the balloon. Similarly, if you see, we have to launch some satellites. We use rocket for that. The fuel used in rockets are burnt, and this fuel hits the ground and the rocket rises upwards. Similarly, while standing on the floor, our weight acts downwards, and we get a reaction on our foot by the ground. While walking also, we place action towards the ground at some angle, and we get reaction onto our legs in the opposite direction. If we break the component in horizontal and vertical direction, we'll able to see that this reaction causes vertical component balances the weight of the body, while the horizontal component helps us to move in forward direction. Similarly, when we jump out from a boat, you can watch clearly. When we jump out from the boat to the bank, we'll see the boat also moves in the opposite direction. Means as soon as we did action, the boat also moved in the opposite direction. We gave an action to we had an action, and the boat gives us as reaction. Thank you. That was all for today.